Peace will fill the world when we finally understand that only from within can it be spread throughout the land. Every single person living peace in what we do, only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.
Good morning, friends. I'm Leona Evans, minister at Unity of San Luis Obispo, an inclusive, progressive, spiritual community affirming the good in all life. Welcome to our Sunday morning live stream. As always, I'm delighted to be here, and I'm thrilled that you chose to join us today. Well, today we're going to be talking about St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up the following Thursday. We'll also be talking about our spiritual preparation for Easter and sharing some important information about Women's History Month. I think you'll be fascinated. So right now, let's prepare for our time together. Let's begin by taking a deep breath and just relaxing. As you breathe deeply, just find yourself a comfortable position. Release extraneous thoughts that might interfere with our full awareness of this precious time. During this hour together, which we have once a week, this is a time of renewal, regeneration, remembering the presence and power of the living Spirit of truth, God, within us. Remembering how to cope with challenges. Remembering that the overcoming Spirit is within us and all around us. And remembering that with Spirit, with the awareness of Spirit within us and within all life, all things are truly possible. Take another deep breath, let go, and let's affirm our invocation together. I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. Once again, I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. In honor of St. Patrick's Day, Matthew J. Evans is going to sing a special joy song for us.
Good morning. Today we're going to sing Away, Away, Away by Mark Welch. Please sing along with the lyrics on the bottom of the screen. I've had it with the downs and outs. I've had it up to here. I'm ready for some laughter and I'm ready for some cheer. It's time for us to breathe it out and sing with all our might. Hi-roo, hi-roo, hi-lay, hi-lay. Step out into the light. The golden sun is rising up, there's dew upon the green. The rolling hills are calling out, it's grander than a dream. I see the wee folks dancing and there's music in the morn. My heart it is awaking up, it's like I've just been born. So lift me up and twirl me round and set me on a star. Call me by my holy name, for God is what I are. Oh, it's emeralds and clover fields as far as I can see. Life on earth is paradise, I'm happy as can be. Oh, la 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 la. La 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 la. I've had it with the downs and outs, I've had it with the pain. I'm telling them to just be gone, get out and go away. Away, 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 golden sun is rising up, there's dew upon the green. The rolling hills are calling out, it's grander than a dream. I see the wee folks dancing and there's music in the morn. My heart it is a-waking up, it's like I've just been born. So lift me up and twirl me round and set me on a star. Call me by my holy name, for God is what I are. It's emeralds and clover fields as far as I can see. Life on earth is paradise, I'm happy as can be. Oh la 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 la. La 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 la. I've had it with the downs and outs, I've had it with the pain. I'm telling them to just be gone, get out and go away. Away, 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 away. Have a great morning, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That was just terrific. This is a wonderful joy song written by Mark Welch, which has a definite Irish flavor, and which we chose, particularly for this Sunday, to pay tribute to St. Patrick's Day. Now, St. Patrick, as many of us know, is the patron saint of the Irish, who is known for ridding Ireland of a snake infestation. But he was also a devout Catholic who converted hundreds of individuals to Christianity and is said to have performed many miracles, including raising the dead. Now, since my hometown is Chicago, which has a large Irish population, I have always enjoyed St. Patrick's Day when I've been there, not only because of the joy and the celebrations that were going on everywhere, but the fact that our mayor in those days, the well-known Mayor Daley, had the Chicago River turned green every year on St. Patrick's Day, and I always got a big thrill out of seeing that. So, happy St. Patrick's Day to all who celebrate, and please remember to wear green on Thursday so that the leprechauns don't pinch you. Next, I want to remind you that this is our spiritual preparation for Easter, which is a time when we want to revisit the intentions that we set for ourselves at our New Year's service and focus on a deeper commitment to the manifestation of those goals during this 40-day commitment. Now, if you've had a change of heart about the goals that you committed to or the resolutions that you made at the beginning of the year, and you no longer feel committed to those resolutions, then please take this opportunity to decide and dedicate yourself to manifesting the goals that are more relevant to where you are right now in consciousness. The important thing is to realize that we are going through a crucifixion resurrection experience where we want to generate all the strength and overcoming power that is within us to recognize that we are capable of resurrecting or rising above whatever situations might seem insurmountable. In this way, we give meaning to the last 40 days of Jesus' life, and we resonate more deeply with not only his teachings, but the overcoming process itself. Clearly, this is a time when much of the world is going through a time of crucifixion, specifically the people of Ukraine and all those who are near and dear to them, and all those who value democracy. And I think it's important to take notice that there is a direct correlation between what we're experiencing in consciousness with our own personal crucifixion resurrection process and what we're experiencing in the world. As we have heard before, as within, so without. And so what we see in the world is a reflection of the polarization that is going on in the human consciousness right now. But fortunately, that's not all that's going on. what is also going on and what is always going on underneath all of the concerns is an awareness of the Spirit, the presence, the light, the life, and the wisdom of God. All of that power, all of that strength, all of that compassion available to us, waiting for us to call it forth, available at all times to all life in all ways. So, this is an opportunity to take time throughout each day to consciously recognize and honor the challenges and the pain that our Ukrainian brothers and sisters are going through right now. We need to remember that while they recognize and understand that they're extremely powerful and have every intention of experiencing victory and remaining a democratic and independent country, they also know that they're struggling to survive and deeply frightened about how and by what means this victory will take place. This is something that I believe we all can relate to. We have confidence. We feel strong for the most part. We know that we can do what we're called upon to do. And yet, when we look at situations that we've never gone through before and seem to be insurmountable, that are completely foreign to our previous experiences, we too become frightened and question whether the strength that we've demonstrated before is enough to handle the present situation. Well, to be honest with you, the answer is probably not. And why? Because as challenging as our last crucifixion resurrection experience was, this one seems even more daunting, more frightening. And we need to learn to remember, to realize that this is an opportunity to go to the source of strength and power within us and find more. Because the truth is, whether we realize it or not, that source is never ending. It cannot be depleted. And the only thing that keeps us from utilizing and being blessed by that source is when we forget that it's there. In other words, as I often say, our teachings remind us that when it feels as though we've come to the end of our rope, we need to reach inside of us and find more where that came from. So, when we connect with our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, when we connect with them during meditation, in consciousness, at a moment where we stop performing our routines and take a moment to experience the reality that we are one in spirit, let's not only connect and have compassion for their suffering, but let's connect with their inner strength and spiritual power to experience the resurrecting power and presence of the Christ within them. It's also important to remember that when we exercise affirmative prayer, which is different from beseeching prayer, oh, please God, make this happen or let this happen. Our style in Unity New Thought is called affirmative prayer. And we need to remember that our goal is not to try to send them our strength and power, because I often hear people say, please know that I'm sending you strength, I'm sending you power. But the truth is, they already have enough. They were born with it. We don't need to send them any as though they didn't have it, or to inadvertently affirm in any way that they're missing something. We need to affirm a surgence of the spiritual strength and power within them, So we don't say, I'm sending you my strength and power, but we're saying, I affirm that the strength and power and compassion and love and wisdom and all the other divine attributes are there within you, and that they envelop you with the realization that you are one with unconditional love, with all of the attributes that you need to not only weather the crucifixion, but experience and take joy in the resurrection. So let us remember that this spiritual preparation for Easter is filled with meaning and importance that not only affects us, but affects the world. Every time we affirm the good that we would experience during the time of resurrection, every time we release and let go of the limited and negative beliefs that have caused us to experience crucifixion and limited experience of the divine, let us remember that this is also happening in the minds and hearts of our friends in Ukraine and all around the world. Every moment is the possibility when they will realize the greater strength, the greater power, the greater light, the greater resilience within them. And within that moment, they release and let go of fear and anxiety and limited thinking that would choke the realization of the greater ideal. And let us also continue to affirm divine wisdom, compassion, and unconditional love for Vladimir Putin. Because as much as we might resist this, the Spirit of God is either everywhere equally present, or it's not present at all. And that's not something that we want to entertain. The Spirit of God is everywhere equally present, and never is it more important than during this crucifixion resurrection time. So thank you for supporting not only your own goals, but the goals and the resolutions of those who would continue to fight for freedom. Let's take a moment to enjoy the wonderful music of Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. And when we come back, we will talk about the metaphysics of Women's History Month. Don't miss it.
Here's a song from the 1946 musical Finian's Rainbow. Words by Yip Harburg and music by Burton Lane. It was a bit controversial at the time. But in the movie starred Fred Astaire, and it was kind of fun to watch him in that role. Here it is. Look to the Rainbow. 1, 2, 3. On the day I was born, said my father, said he, I've an elegant legacy waiting for ye. 'Tis a rhyme for your lips and a song for your heart, to sing it whenever the world falls apart. Look to the rainbow, follow it over the hill and stream. Look to the rainbow, follow the fellow who follows a dream. 'Twas a sumptuous gift to bequeath to a child. Oh, the lure of that song kept my feet running wild. For you never grow old, and you never stand still, with whippoorwills singing beyond the next hill. Look, look, look to the rainbow, follow it over the hill and stream. Look, look to the rainbow, follow the fellow who follows a dream. So I bundle my hurt and I roam the world free, to the east with the lark, to the west with the sea. And I searched all the earth and I scanned all the skies, but I found it at last in my own true love's eyes. Look, look, look to the rainbow, follow it over the hill and stream. Look, look, look to the rainbow, follow the fellow who follows a dream. Follow the fellow, follow the fellow, follow the fellow who follows a dream. Follow the fellow, follow the fellow, follow the fellow who follows a dream. Look to the rainbow, everybody. You'll find it.
Thank you so much, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. Beautiful, beautiful song and wonderful, heartfelt rendition. Yes, I agree with you, Brett. When we look to the rainbow, we will be following our dream. I interpret the rainbow as the realm of pure potential and all possibilities. And I interpret our dream not as a fantasy, but as a reality that has not yet been manifested. So, yes, thank you for that beautiful, beautiful music. So, let's talk about women's history. Let's just take an overview of a long period of time and come up with several ideas that will remind us that dedication, perseverance are all things that we have within us, strength and power to manifest our dream, and that most great dreams come with great sacrifice. And that is not because we're doing something wrong, but it's because the manifestation process is not linear. It is filled with crucifixions and resurrections, not because we're doing anything wrong, but because great dreams come with great sacrifices. But the dream always prevails. So now cultural anthropologists tell us that women in most societies of the world have been subjected to low status, exploitation, and oppression for many, many thousands of years. They place this subjugation of women at around 14,000 years ago. Now, during this time, people were moving away from their nomadic way of life to a way of life that's referred to as sedentarization. Sedentarization, coming from the word sedentary. This means that people were starting to think more in terms of accumulating resources to protect them from natural disasters or starvation. They wanted dwelling places that would keep them from the vicious storms that would threaten their lives. So they started collecting things. They started building communities, and they began moving from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a more settled way of life. Well, as the people began acquiring land and accumulating resources and using the land to plant precious food, competition increased, along with the struggle to acquire power. So as a result, there were more opportunities to go to war over acquisitions of land or possessions. Now, what the people found out after a period of time was that any society using women warriors incurred a significant disadvantage. See, the death of a male warrior would signify the loss of one person, but the death of a female warrior signified the potential loss of not only her, but of all the children she might have borne. The Amazonian groups who sent both men and women to war would eventually be cut off from their land bases because there was no one left at home to keep their societies thriving. So, as time went on, women began to be excluded from war and, little by little, from decision-making, participating in public life, and from actually having dominion over their own lives. As time passed, women stayed home and they took care of all the responsibilities related to the preservation and upkeep of their homes and their children and of the food they grew on that land, including the animals. Now, as challenging as those responsibilities were, and as enterprising and brave and courageous and erudite these women were, men didn't seem to notice what intelligence and perseverance the women were demonstrating, and instead they proclaimed themselves as the superior gender. Now, even as the men began to worship the fertility goddesses to ensure many offspring and successful crops, this didn't seem to affect the status of the women. I know that certainly I've heard many people say that, to go back to the times when goddesses were worshipped. But the fact of the matter was that those goddesses were there for men to pray to for more crops, for the flooding of the Nile, for the well-being of children, for them to be healthy and strong. But they didn't seem to notice that their wives were also women, because the men began to treat them as objects, possessions, just like all the rest of their possessions at home. Now, that lasted for a very, very long time. But things began to change with the introduction of the concept of feminism, which many say breaks down into 4 different time periods. I want to share with you a brief overview of those periods so that you can have a sense of the way things have changed over a relatively short period of time. Now, the first wave of feminism spanned the years of 1848 to 1920, and it began with the Seneca Falls Convention in New York in 1848. This was the first organized movement aimed at gaining rights for American women. The convention was organized by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, and it also included, if you remember the talk from our recent talk for Black History Month 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, Sojourner Truth. She spoke there as well. At that time and during that convention, the women signed the Declaration of Sentiments, which affirmed women's equality with men. They worked hard and they continued to organize. They continued to meet. They continued to take abuse from people who opposed them for 75 years until in 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, which fulfilled the principal role of the first wave of feminism, which guaranteed white women the freedom to vote. Now, let us understand that Black women and other women of color were not allowed the right to vote until the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So although Black men were allowed to vote, Black women still had to wait. Now, the second wave of feminism is said to be from 1963 to 1980. At this point, Betty Friedan wrote her groundbreaking book, sold more than 3 million copies in 2 years. It was called The Feminine Mystique. And she talked about the problem of women being confined to the role of wives and mothers and how they were choosing to rebel against this inequality, that they felt they were born for more than just keeping house, that they wanted to be able to go out in the world and to express the intelligence and the enterprising nature that had been ignored them outside the home. And even inside the home hadn't really been recognized very much. Betty Friedan's goal was wanting to end sexist discrimination. And soon after the publication of her book, the NOW, National Organization for Women, was formed with Betty Friedan as the president. Now, during this time, the women were inspired by the civil rights movement, and they called for a reevaluation of traditional gender roles in society. Feminism, or women's lib, gained strength as a political force in the 1970s as Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem, and Bella Abzug founded the National Women's Political Caucus in 1971. So the high points of the second wave of feminism included the passage of the Equal Pay Act. Not that it's always been enacted, but they did pass the Equal Pay Act. And the Roe v. Wade decision was passed in 1973. In spite of its many achievement and many interesting times with many women demonstrating in many different ways, the women's liberation movement began to lose momentum by 1980. Like other movements, like the civil rights movements, many of us thought that it was finished and that we got all of our rights. Well, it took about 10 years to realize that feminism needed more support. And so the third wave of feminism began in 1990 and went up to around 2017. Now, the focus in the third wave was on dealing with sexual harassment in the workplace and a shortage of women in positions of power. When Anita Hill testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee about her accusations of sexual harassment, women began to talk about the arrival of the third wave of feminism. In 1992, which was called the Year of the Women, there were more women elected to Congress than ever before. Many women chose to embrace the spirit of rebellion, and women became encouraged to express their sexuality and their individuality. The third wave also looked to be more inclusive when it came to race and gender. Now, the fourth wave began in 2017. It continues to the present, and we also look to the future for greater strides. This includes the emergence of the internet that led to a new brand of social media based in activism, especially introducing the Metoo movement. Now, the Metoo movement was actually launched in 2007 by an activist named Tarana Burke, but it really took off in the wake of information about the sexual misconduct of film producer Harvey Weinstein. Thank you, Harvey, for the wake-up call. The importance of the Metoo movement cannot be underestimated. It brought to light the number of ways that women and girls have been intimidated into silence and have suffered from chronic issues ranging from PTSD to depression to anxiety to low self-esteem. Fourth wave feminists are also turning their attention to the systems that allow such misconduct to occur. They're also continuing to grapple with the concept of intersectionality and how the movement can be more inclusive and more representative, regardless of sexuality, race, class, and gender. Now, I think we need to give the women's liberation movement some credit because we are blessed to have in office not only our first woman vice president, but our first Black woman vice president. And it is thrilling to be able to say that and to be able to bless her as she goes about doing her work to not only speak the word of democracy, but of equality of the races in all ways. Now, I shared with you that I would discuss the metaphysics of women's liberation, and there is no question to me that there is a metaphysical component. Not only realizing that activity such as this is a huge change and requires not only brains and talent and compassion, but it requires a type of steadfast strength that, in my opinion, can only be accessed through our own spirituality, through the recognition that our strength does not lie in anyone or anything, but in our own awareness of our own divinity and a full understanding of our humanity. This is a powerful insight into what women have gone through and have passed the torch to other women and have inspired other women who actually have inspired a number of men to be part of women's liberation. These men who have a great awareness of their own inner power and don't have the urge to take it away from someone else in order to feel whole or strong. I also want to say something about the Metoo movement and how, shall we say, coincidentally, something happened this week in my life that brought back a memory that was so difficult to grapple with that I just didn't think about it. Oh, I think I told Matthew about it once, years ago, but have always felt shame about and have always felt confused about. And this is an incident that took place when I was about 20 years old. And it involved a man who was a very important member of a spiritual community, a very large spiritual community. And when it happened, not only was it totally unexpected. But I was so disappointed in myself for being paralyzed with confusion and fear. I wouldn't have dreamt of discussing it with my family because I was too ashamed. I didn't want that to be a picture of the daughter that my mother raised. I was filled with shame. And so, this week, as I was scrolling through a Facebook group that I belong to, his name was mentioned. And someone commented on the Facebook page that he had a friend, a female friend, who told him of the exact experience that I went through, only she had gone through it. And then he mentioned that he was known during that time for having had those experiences with a number of young women. My first thought was to want to throw my arms around him. I don't know this person, but he's someone whose comments I've seen on Facebook, but I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for mentioning it. Thank you for saying the word. I don't envy, I'm not joy-filled that other women and girls went through this, but I can tell you this, that there's nothing like feeling alone with your shame. Nothing as tragic and, quite frankly, unnecessary if we realize the living spirit of truth within us and the presence of unconditional love. Well, I was freed in some way that's still a little hard, if you notice, to put into words. But the fact is, there was a freedom there. There was a connection with other women and girls, many of whom I pray have forgotten it and put it in the past a long time ago. And that is the dream that I follow now, and that is the freedom that I'm experiencing now more and more every day. Who knows how many of us there are out there? Those of us who have inadvertently, unwittingly chosen to experience shame about experiences we had no practice with, and experiences that put us in a compromising position that cause us to go silent and stay that way. If there's anybody out there now who's living with shame for that or for any other reason, please know that the tremendous, unequaled power of the unconditional love of spirit dwells inside of you, knows no judgment, and is willing to bless you as you open yourself up to the possibility. Look to the rainbow. Follow the dream. The dream is unconditional love, and it's always been there for you. And when you look there and stay there, keep your faith there, keep your attention there, it will wrap you metaphorically in its arms of pure and unconditional love, and you will begin to heal. If anybody who's not watching this morning that you know needs to know this, please send them a copy. It's really, really important. And that healing can take place anytime, for any reason, with any body or anything being a catalyst. It's all there for us, and it responds to our faith in it. Take a deep breath and relax now. This is our time of inner contemplation, meditation, and integration of today's message. Today, we celebrate the overcoming power of the Christ presence within us. And we affirm at the deepest level of our being, I am strong with the strength of spirit. I am alive with the life of spirit. I love with the love of spirit, continually and unconditionally. I am an overcomer. I have all that I need to manifest my highest good at any time, anywhere. For I am always in the presence of pure being. I do all that is mine to do. And I celebrate the presence of spirit within me and within all life. I remember to take time for meditation every day as I connect with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters in an affirmation of overcoming and I give thanks. So it is. Amen. It's time now in our service to bless the tithes and offerings that we would share with Unity of San Luis Obispo. The truth is that as you give, so shall you receive. And when you give to where you experience your spiritual good, your spiritual inspiration, you are causing the universe to bless you 30, 60, 100 times over. So let us give thanks for this opportunity to share our good, and let us speak the words of this prosperity statement together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive.
Here's 3 Irish tunes, traditional Irish tunes. The Kerry Dance, Gary Owen, and the Irish washerwoman. I'll start it out. Oh, the days of the carry dancing, oh, the ring of the piper's tune. Oh, for one of the hours of gladness, gone, alas, like our youth too soon. When the boys began to gather in the glen of a summer's night, and the carry piper's tuning made us long with wild delight. Oh, to think of it, oh, to dream of it, fills my heart with tears. Dancing all the ring of the piper's tune. Oh, for one of the hours of gladness, gone and last like our youth too soon. When the boys began to gather in the glen of a summer night, and the carry piper's tuning made us long for wild delight. Oh, to think of it, oh, to dream of it, fills my heart with tears. Oh, the days of the carry dancing, oh, the ring of the piper's tune. Oh, for one of the hours of gladness, gone and last like our youth too soon.
That was fun.
That was kind of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Ireland, the Irish.
Oh, how we love dear Ireland.
Thank you so much, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. That really was a lot of fun. So terrific. And it's just such a blessing to have you share your special talents with us. Thank you both. It's wonderful. And you know what it reminds me of with Matthew and his Irish accent? It reminds me of the time when he was about 16, 17 years old, when he played an Irish foreign exchange student on a Disney Channel show called Lab Rats. He was adorable. He had this cool accent, which you heard a little bit of, and it was a charming episode. Look it up on YouTube if you have a chance. So, it's time to sing our peace song.
On earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, united together in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let's speak the words of our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Friends, please press the like button and share your comments with us. We love to hear from you. Also, tune in to the Get Off Your Affirmation podcast. There is plenty of spiritual inspiration for you during the week. God bless you and have a wonderful week. You deserve it.
Every single person living peace in what we do. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream